Hey guys, Nick Eilerman here. Welcome back to the shop. Today's an exciting day. We finally got our windows in from CR Laurence. We got them in last week. We got the van all prepped and ready to go. We got the plastic inside, all that good stuff. We've got our layouts. And but I wanted to pause and start filming this for you guys so we could do a step-by-step tutorial on how to install a van window. The particular van window that we're installing in this video is the CR Laurence AW1033 awning style window. So it's not the bunk window you typically see that has the, it's like a half bunk slider. This one is actually the awning to where it tilts out and allows it to shed rain, which is the main reason that I'm using this one in this van. Now we have 4 windows that we're installing and 1 max fan for the roof. However, this video is going to be more detailed on just this one window right here behind the ladder. It's going to show you everything I do to prep before I cut the window out, all the tools that I have, how I do my templating process, all of that stuff. So it's a packed video, a lot of information, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, the first part of this process is to lay out all the materials that you're going to anticipate you're going to need for this. I mean, it's really straightforward. You need your tools for cutting it out. You need your markers to lay out what your template line is going to be. Need your tape to protect when you get ready to drill it out. To be able to drill it out, you need to have drills set for a size that is big enough for your jigsaw blade to fit through, a drill so that you can drill out the tops and bottoms of the template to provide you for reference holes on the inside of the van when you get ready to cut out the ribs. I'll explain that. Got some water here, obvious reasons. Some metal cutting gloves, and when I mean metal cutting gloves, gloves that are designed to not slice your hand open when you're cutting out this sheet metal. And I like these more floppy gloves instead of like the mechanic gloves because you can get a little bit more dexterity in these. Safety glasses, ear protection. This is an adjustable square. We're not going to be using it for the leveling purposes. We're using this so that we can gauge the depth from our window seam to where our template falls on the van. That'll be explained in a minute. And then our template. So this was explained in our templating process video. And yeah, so that's pretty much everything we need to cut the window out. The next step is to move over to where we're going to lay the window out, and you'll want to have spent a lot of time on planning this, kind of sleeping on some ideas and thinking about what you're going to do for this side of the van or for wherever you're putting the window. You want to understand relationship to any ladders, symmetry, height, all that stuff. And then you're going to also want to consider how that's going to affect whatever you're installing on the interior of the van. So I'm going to insert a little part of the video to where I explain all this. All right, so we're looking at one of the panels. I call it a bump out for the Adventure Wagon kit. One's over here. One's over here at the widest point. So right here, we are almost 74 inches wide. I think it's like 73, something like that. Might be 73 inches. Anyway, my point that I wanted to, or something I wanted to show you guys while we're here is when you're trying to find out where to put your window, if you just haphazardly put your window in and then maybe you center it or whatever, you really need to do like a 360 when you're doing anything in the van. When I mean 360, I mean look at one side, actually come out go all the way to the other side of the van, and then look. And then just start understanding how things are going to appear. For example, I was working on the inside of the van, and I had everything planned out as far as, you know, bed, window, all this stuff. And I was thinking, well, you know, it'd be nice to have, the bed is exactly 60 inches from here to here. You know, it'd be nice to have the window centered. And then I had something in the back of my mind. I was like, you know, on the outside, we were designing the ladder. So I was like, man, it's like, I don't want the window to interrupt and be behind the ladder, because I mean, that would look terrible. But then where am I going to put the window on the opposite side? So what I did was, I paused on the adventure wagon, I paused on the window installation, and I went ahead and moved over to the Flatline Vanco roof rack system that we had. And so what I had to do is actually install this driver's side, get everything lined up, get the ladder in position to where everything is nice and vertical to the body lines. Everything looks nice and perpendicular. Okay, get this in its position where it's going to live. I can always take it off later. But then now, where is this in relationship to where the window needs to be? So we have this, little, it's not a body line really, but it's, you know, it's an indentation right here in the van. And so this is kind of like where your eye's going. So right here, this is where a window would be. So where is the window going to go from here to here? Because now this is now our visual line that's coming on the van. So now, since we have the opportunity to move stuff in the van, you know, we can put the window wherever we want it. We're in control of that. So if we are in control of that, we should take advantage of it. So what I'm doing is, I've got my ladder where it's going to be, and I've got this reveal line, and what I want to do is I want to be able to put a window here that makes sense, that's either equidistance here and here. So what I've done is I've measured from the ladder to here, I've found my center point, and then I've taken my template, and my template, I have a center line right here. And then now I know that this is where my window is going to go. And so now my window is going to have the same gap here and the same gap here relative to this angle. So imagine if this angle came straight down, that's where my distance is. So now that I have this window here, it's going to look, you know, like it had thought designed into it, that there's a reason that the window is located specifically here. And then what I'll do is I'll translate that to the other side. So I'll know exactly how far I'm measuring off of here to get my center line. I have that number now. So now the only other thing that needs to be addressed before I make a decision on where I'm actually going to cut the hole out is the height. And that's the distance between this lip and here. Okay, so I've decided on 3 inches down. And the way I came upon 3 inches down, again, I think 360. Come back in the van. I know we're technically doing 180, but my point is, you get my point. Okay, we're back over here. How did I come up with where to come to 3 inches down? Well, if you look inside here, I have no idea if the camera is going to be able to get this. Let me take it off. Here, let's do this. All right, guys, if you can see right there. All right, guys, if you can see that, that is where that body line comes into the van, that turn down which is pretty much the profile if you were going to have this to be a passenger van, and that's where the glass would actually inset. So let's zoom back out. Okay, so right here is where that is. So if you go in and measure, it actually comes out here. So that makes sense. It makes sense that this part right here would be where that lip is on the outside, but you got to confirm that. So we've confirmed that. And so now, let me get this back in my head. So now that we know we're coming 3 inches down, you know, why are we coming 3 inches down with our window? Well, it's because we got to take into account the complexity of all of this. So if you were simply just putting in this window, you just put in this van window, you know, no big deal. Window goes in the hole, you clamp it, and then later you're gonna build some type of frame around it to neaten it up. Well, what we're doing is we're doing the window. We are doing a Flatline Vanco trim ring kit that has to go in here. And so the 3 inches, now we start to build the 3 inches up. So where this would be this is where the hole begins, and that's our gasket. Now we're adding this flange to it for the trim kit. So we've just added almost an inch. Then we're sealing that into the van. Now we have this profile, so we got to make room for that. And then when we're done, we're going to cut a hole into the upholster panel, the square hole, so that it can accept the final trim ring. Okay, so now we've gone from here to here to here. Now we're to here. So we've done that much, and then we want some wiggle room. So that is how we came up with our 3 inches. Is because when that curve or that panel comes down, we want this flat part to intersect where it becomes vertical again. So if you can imagine, it goes vertical and then it starts to turn to be the bump out. So for all of this to sandwich and make its way in there, that is what we have to do. Okay, so it's a lot of things, but when we're done, look at that. It'll be a just super clean, we'll probably repaint this. Just a super clean install. It'll look really, really nice. So now that we got all those layers, you know, the whole 360 thing, that is how it makes sense that we've decided to come down. The good news is, since we've used our ladder as kind of like our starting datum point, and we came up from that to find out where all this locates, we can also come out from the outside of the van, measure off, and I think this is 19 inches to where this mark is, and that's actually where that flange is going to be on the inside. Why is that important? Because this right here consists of all of these little metal. So we need to make sure that that frame that's going in there is offset enough to where it's nice and open. We don't have to deal with cutting any of this out. Because again, this is structure. So the least amount of structure you can take out of the van, the better. So, long story short, this right here is where you're going to see the window in its final position. Now, further note, this is about as high up as I can make the window, because we got the trim ring, and then we got the 1.5 inches for the lip, and then it turns in. So this is about as high as the window can go. Again, look what we have here. This is approximately where our bed's gonna go. Now this bed is going to be designed to where it can be removed or movable. So it's not completely permanent, although that may change depending on who decides to purchase this van. But again, what we can do here is we can just visually see where the mattress is going to be. So this block represents the thickness of our insulation, our plywood, and our flooring material. It'll be on top of these ribs. So when we place this here, this is pretty much our floor height. So measuring from here to the top of this tape is 36 inches. Typically that is what you would want to, that's what you want to have. That's what you want to have for putting mountain bikes and stuff like that in the van. We covered that in one of our podcasts. So here to here is 36. We need about 1.5 inches for our structure of the bed, our 80/20 frame. And then this is looking at like a 6-inch mattress. So as you can already tell, the window, instead of doing it like this, because we can't do that, we've had to come down. So our window is right about 1 inch where our, let's see here. Let's make sure it's 3 inches just so I can make sure I'm explaining this to you. There you go. Okay, so we're gonna come 3 inches down. It should be, it's close to where that tape is. So we'll just go a little bit above the tape. Tape is not exact. That was just for reference when I was doing this. So, oh yeah, that's right. There you go. So 3 inches is about where this piece of tape is. So if we look, we've got about 1.5 inches, and then right here, that tape up there represents our 6-inch mattress. So you'll notice everything is really tight because this is our knob to adjust our window. So we'll have this, we'll have a frame come out, but then this is where our mattress is going to be. So you see, things get tight really quick. So we have a 6-inch mattress. We're going to have to make an adjustment and bring this down, which brings our bed height down, which brings this down. So everything is in relationship. So we're going to have to address that. We really want to stick to 36 inches, but what we're going to do is we can move the bed, we can change the bed, the window frame, the ladder, stuff like that we can't change. So this is as high as we can get with our window. And so we're going to have to make an adjustment to the way the bed frame is designed, which we'll do that later. The bed frame is actually what we're going to do last. But since we're here, it's important that we understand what we're getting ourselves into later. So we can visually understand that by making this decision, we're affecting our mattress selection, affecting our bed framing material. We are affecting our garage height if we wanted to install a mountain bike with some mounts and stuff like that. So for example, instead of maybe doing 1 inch of insulation, we maybe have to do a 1/2 inch of insulation, you know, maybe 1/4 inch floor, like stuff like that starts to happen so that we can regain this little distance, so that our final ending reveal for this window, it's comfortable, it looks right, it makes sense, all of the above. So just remember, when you make one decision, it translates into multiple other decisions that you started with in a van. Everything is tied together. Everything from, again, where this bed height is to the ceiling height. So if you want to be able to sit up in bed, everything is connected. The way you sit up, the way you lay down, how the bed frame is set, your garage space for your bikes or gear. And so I take that into consideration depending on what the customer's goals are. But for you, if you're doing DIY, you know, what are your goals? Is it really necessary that you have bikes in the garage? Is that something you're going to be doing all the time? Or can you just put a bike rack on your door for 2 bikes and then, you know, like chain them up at the end of the night when you go camp somewhere? But kind of getting back to where I started, I will be cutting out this window today, but I wanted to show you guys in this video just how everything's related. All right, so we got the GoPro on, and we're going to tilt this up just a little bit. Let's get that back on there. Take some pressure off of this. There you go. This looks like it's coming off. That's okay. Let's put an extra piece of tape on. And this is just temporary. This is just our template. There you go. Okay, as you guys can see, the tool that I was talking about earlier, this guy right here, what you can do is you can set this so you have a gauge to find out how high this is coming off of this. And you can just go around. And actually, I just now noticed this, but this lip can pretty much sit right here on this cardboard on the back side. As you guys can see, we're perfectly lined up with that line. So nice and level. We got 3 inches coming down, confirmed on the inside. So now we're going to make our line. So everything is taped up here. I'm using a fine point Sharpie. You could use a thicker Sharpie. I do think maybe like a thicker Sharpie would be good for if you were you wanted to actually see the line a little bit better. Like say you were cutting this outside as opposed to inside. You needed in the sun, you know, it was pretty bright. But I'm gonna come over here and just start making my line. Just nice and easy. And this fine point, I want this super accurate because I'm actually going to cut on this line because the way that I trace this, that is going to give me my room. So my jigsaw blade is actually going to be on this line that I'm cutting. Okay. And when you're doing this, you just want to be consistent. You want to go up and down like that. I'd say the most important part of the template is the radius here that you got to cut. Especially on the Ford Transit vans, because it bends out. And I watched a video the other day, and it was talking about how the sliding door, the reason the T-vent windows on a Ford Transit don't actually tilt out that much is because it has to do with the curvature of the van. So it's actually not the T-vent. I mean, the T-vent, you know, it's not allowing it to come out, but it's because of they can't manufacture the window to be able to like take that curve, which I don't know how true that is, but it was in somebody's YouTube video that was researching on, you know, van window installs. Okay, so again, we're going to be cutting right on that line, and that line is going to be is going to give us that gap we needed to have clearance, because this is pretty much zero clearance the way we cut our template. So yeah, I'm going to take this tape off of the top part so I can get my line. And be careful with your template. You want to be able to use it for other parts of the van if you're going to. Oh, yeah, because of the dry erase marker. And you see my template shifted, so just be aware if you've moved it to get back right where that line was supposed to be. Okay, let's take it off. Let's look at it. There we go. There's our window. And I'm just triple checking because for some reason it looks like the right is lower than the left. Not sure why. 3 right to there. Might be like an optical illusion. Yeah, we're exactly 3 and exactly 3. Let's see what it looks like over here. Yeah, it looks nice. That's awesome. As you guys can see, we got like 6 inches here and 6 inches here. I know it's not to here, but I'm taking into account this angle. So about 6 inches here, and then that goes straight down. Nice. Okay, the next step is to take our drill bit, and we're going to go up here to the center point. We're going to drill in, and they're going to drill down here. And I'm going to measure on the inside, from the outside of the van to the inside, to make sure I just don't hit a rib. Because the whole point of this is to find out our maximum height and our minimum height for getting ready to cut the ribs out. Because we're going to cut the ribs out next. Once those are cut out for our spacing, we'll come back, circle back over here, and we'll get everything taped off. So yeah, let's go measure the inside. And we may not do the center. We may just try to find a place that we can start. So that's the end of the van. So let's try to hit 32 inches going in, and that'll land us with hopefully our screws coming out here and here. So we'll take our Sharpie. At the end of the van, let's come in 32. So about 32. I can use 2 hands here. Okay, so a little left of that spec. So probably right here and right here. So all right. I think this was at, let's see, it's 32. Yeah, we're about right there. Yeah, because 19 was where this line was. All right, let's drill those 2 holes and then we'll move on from there. And before we do that, let's grab our tape. Just in case we slip, we're not going to mess up our line here. You'll slip. Okay, so we're gonna drill a hole here and drill a hole here. And now this sheet metal should be pretty good with the standard drill bit. I know when we were doing that top part, from here up, that's boron steel. It's extremely tough to get through. And actually I take that back. This outer shell may not be boron, it may just be the inner frame. Yeah, not sure about that. Yeah, but let's get this going. Okay guys, getting ready to cut our supporting members here. The most critical thing to remember is to not go past this. You only have about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. So don't cut your exterior part of your van. You only want to cut through this rib. Some people like to put a piece of sheet metal or something like that behind there. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take my time and just focus on cutting this piece of metal out. I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3. And I guess for video purposes, let's see. Maybe I'll probably have to ignore the video. You guys will just have to watch it. It's on GoPro, so you guys should be fine. Got eye protection, hearing protection. And we're going to be using this Milwaukee Fuel, or M12 Fuel Series cutoff wheel. It is a 3-inch cutoff wheel. This thing is very nice because you can easily control this. And then this one allows you to change directions. So we can actually have sparks go that way, or we can have them go that way. So we're going to have them go out. So let's get started. All right guys, we are back in the shop. We've got our grinder charged and we're gonna go back on this other side and keep on going. So let's get our GoPro on our head, and I think we got our safety glasses and stuff like that on the other side. So we'll go put that on and we'll finish up cutting out these ribs behind the window. All right guys, we're back at it. We have our recharged single battery. We've only bought one battery for this because I didn't know if I actually would like it, but I really like it. It's doing a really good job. Just need a little bit extra batteries. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and cut these out. We're gonna actually cut slightly above this line, and that should give us a nice, I re-measured everything, so that should give us a nice tight fit between everything. And that's kind of the direction we're gonna go there. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, get this cut out, and then we'll actually be ready to enlarge our holes and get ready to jigsaw out our window. All right, hey guys, welcome back. Just finished off on the inside. We're back over here on the outside, getting ready to finally cut this window out. We offset these holes enough to where we can use this bigger drill bit right here to go in and cut this hole out. And then once we drill this hole out, it'll be flush with our cut line, and we can go from there. Okay, over here we got our jigsaw. And I used I think a medium bit saw for the roof vent. And I'm gonna change it on this panel. And I'm going for a Bosch basic metal very thin. Basic metal very thin, that's what I'm doing. These are the T-shank. We've already got our jigsaw, got masking tape on there. Masking tape is a little bit better than painter's tape. It's a little bit more durable, I've found. We've got our painter's tape here, so we're gonna go ahead and take these gloves off and start taping out the section that we need to protect. So we gotta protect the paint. It's white paint, but it's a paint for our van. I'll tell you guys, I'm so bad. I already cut myself right there. I don't know if I'll leave it in the video, but and then we'll go wash my hands off because I was bleeding. Anyway, I'm just stubborn, I guess, but we're gonna do this. Make sure we're right on that line because we're gonna cut directly on the line. That should give us enough clearance so that it'll just slip in there really just very cleanly. And I'm using the Sharp Line painter's tape for the inside. I might use some cheaper stuff for the outside, but when I'm doing this, I really don't cheap out on anything like saw blades or nothing. If I have to buy something to do it right, I buy something to do it right. So that's what I do. And watch out when you move your hands across. I've cut my fingers going across holes that I've drilled out. Hopefully there's some music playing after I edit this, so you guys can just listen to music and watch me work. I'll probably be doing a live stream with this little this GoPro headset type thing. I think I mentioned it in another video, but there's this guy that does window tinting out of Detroit, Michigan. And it's pretty cool the way he does a live stream. Of course, he's got like an HDMI transmitter and all this stuff. So if you think this looks big on my head, his whole setup, he's got like an extra battery pack on his head. He's got, like I said, HDMI transmitter popping out. I got an extra battery pack for the GoPro. Pretty cool. Tape is cheap, guys. Scratching the paint is not cheap. I've got some really wide tape right here. I'm just going to use for these bigger areas so we can just get to business. Get to the business. Not sure if I'm going to hit that when I go up. And make sure we're documenting for the blog. Take that back in there in a second because that's going to be our inside cam. So you saw me wiping off, look at that, all that little stuff from the drill. That will settle into the paint. So you need to make sure that you really take care of wiping this whole entire thing down. If it does get embedded in the paint, I saw this one video. I haven't tried this myself, but what they did is they took baking soda and a little I'm gonna come over here, just see if the ladder's gonna get in the way. So that's good, ladder won't be in the way. Come up back here. Okay. So we don't have any obstruction, but we do need to put some extra tape down. Like I said, I won't be doing this much of an in-depth tutorial on the other windows because they're pretty self-explanatory after this. I'll just be listening to music, getting in the zone, just having a good time working on the van. So. Once you guys get the hang of this, it'll be much quicker. Okay, that's overkill for a tape job, but I'm just showing you guys what you can do. All right, so now we're not gonna scratch our paint at all. Got everything taped up. Again, just want to make sure that when you're making the turns are where you're gonna tend to scratch. So let's do that. The other thing I'll do, and you've probably seen this on some other videos, is I'll tape this with the masking tape as I go, just so the panel's not all flopping around. So I've got my masking tape ready. We're gonna go ahead and start this video. Inside here. Get that going. Okay, you guys can see what's happening. All right, guys, we've made it. We're here. We're gonna cut this window out, I promise. Got our safety glasses on, got our hearing protection. We have the GoPro up here, and it's gonna be able to show you guys all of this. It's gonna be pretty cool. All right, so I'm gonna take our drill right now, and we're just gonna enlarge this hole because it's gonna be one of our. This is gonna be one of our holes that our jigsaw is gonna go in. Might be the only hole. Technical difficulties. I think his drill's done. Man, that sucks. Anyway, we've got our skill saw, jigsaw. Gonna tie that up just so when you're in the zone cutting this out, you don't lose your concentration. All right, guys, here we go. We're gonna make a pass all the way up to here, and then we'll probably move the ladder, and then we'll do one to here. Now this is gonna be floppy as hell. I mean, just super floppy, so just take your time. Two pro tips: always high speed. Always high speed. Don't turn with the top of your jigsaw. Turn with the back of your jigsaw. If you've ever driven a forklift, act like you're driving a forklift. If that makes sense. Turn with the back, not the front. Okay, we're starting to flop around. It's getting kind of distracting, so I'm gonna go ahead and sit this down and do my tape. Yeah, I'm gonna come back around there, so I don't want to tape that all the way up. Don't cut yourself. I should be wearing gloves. I haven't done the bunk window, so I'm wondering if the awning style window is longer. I didn't actually do that calculation. Make sure we got some slack so it doesn't happen again. Pause for a second. I feel like I'm breathing in little bits of aluminum, steel. That blade cuts so much thinner. It's really nice though. Well, this looks ridiculous. I noticed I started to drift down, so I might have to correct that later. Wear gloves. I'm not wearing gloves. This blade does cut a lot slower though, that's what I noticed. Getting wobbly. I really like the cut that I like the cut that the fine blade makes, but it makes a ton of dust. sure you steer with the back. All right, there we go. Let's take it out and do a test fit. Okay, so we're finished. Let's go on the inside and see what it looks like. All right, looks really good. The biggest question is, let's check out how we did on the frame here. Okay, so there's our frame, and it'll pretty much be glued just like that. You guys can see how it kind of comes up a little bit. So that's what we got to do, is we need to come up like that with it, because that's how the body line of the van is going down. All right, let's peel this out. We can actually peel it out from this side. There we go. The window is out. All right, guys, we have a window. All right, guys, we did it. We cut the hole out. Looks so far so good. I haven't actually put the window in. We're gonna do it live. But that little taping method, I didn't plan on pulling the metal out from the inside, but that's gonna be my new trick. I liked it. Anyway, let's get this masking tape off, and then what we'll do is we'll go get our awning window, and I like to be super precise, just my thing. So hopefully it is just as precise as I like to be. And from the looks of this and this cutout, I think it's going to be great. Man, that's excellent. Excellent, excellent. Could have been about 1/8 of an inch tighter, and I would have been a little bit more happy. But I think we're gonna do just great. Actually, I take that back because there's this big old spot weld up here in the top, and you hear that? It's so good, guys. It is so good. I've only got an eighth of an inch left and right. That's awesome. And I'm really gonna like the fact that we're gonna reinforce the inside of it with the flatline Vanco system. You see right here, I don't want to push in because it's gonna like dent in. So I'm just gonna push it here, and I'm gonna take some tape and then tape it so we can see what it looks like on the inside. And I'm a one-man show here today, so. I know somebody's gonna put in the comments that I waste a ton of tape, but just don't take any chances, all right? No chances. All right. Let's take you on the GoPro journey. So we are looking at the window here, and I mean, everything looks excellent. Let's see here. So maybe we can put it here. The bottom of there. Bottom of it, yeah, looks good. It's really good. Okay, let's go on the inside. Check that out. Nasty goop. Let's go on the inside before it falls out. Look at that, looking good. Now you guys can see what I'm saying. We have that line of the van. So on a Ford Transit, it comes here and it goes down. So that's what I'm talking about, where inside you are not going to notice this. Actually, this is making it worse. Ignore that. I've only got that held in by one bolt. But that's the way the body line is going down. So that's the way the window is. Now it is sitting on the bottom here, right there on that little plastic bit that I was telling you guys about, and on that plastic bit right there. So, I mean, look at what we did for the cutting. It looks excellent. I mean, I think we did really good. This right here, I don't know why I went up with the jigsaw. Obviously that's gonna be fine. But now look at that. Right there is where that little spot weld is, and we had to kind of push it in. And it's right there where the spot weld is. Again, I'll have to double check the template, but it looks like we have a little rise here. This radius is really nice. That's one place where a lot of people cut too big and it doesn't make a good seal, and I'm happy about that seal. I'm really happy about this down here, because this is where water would more typically leak. I mean, look at that. That cut right there that's excellent. So that's what I'm going for in the future. Just that perfection. That looks really good. Okay. All right, it passes my test. It passes my test. Now we can actually get to see this in all of its glory. Try not to push the window out. But if you see here, guys, see how we have the angle? So we're gonna have to bump up. And I actually might, I'm gonna take some more material out of this top right. That way I can get this top just perfect. So probably just need to take another 1/8 of an inch off there, and then we'll be really good to go. We're gonna put some more tape on the window because, actually, let me scratch that. I'm going to start putting this plate on and tracing out the left and right edges to get this even, because I want to go ahead and glue this so that it glues overnight. And then once I'm finished gluing this overnight, we can come back tomorrow and then we can actually drill and mount the window 100%. So yeah. So that's the plan, guys. We're gonna grind this, get this set, glued in, and that is the video for today. All right, guys, we're not done yet. This is the end of the day today. We're gonna go back tomorrow, and with movie magic, it'll be in this next clip. But what I'm gonna do is what I said inside. We're gonna glue it, get this taped on here a little bit better so I can mess around on the inside, finding where I want that frame. Do a little bit more grinding tonight, and then tomorrow we'll pick back up. We'll have it bolted in. We'll do a couple of final touches on cutting out the upholstered panel, and then that'll be the end of the video, and then we'll kind of go on from there. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to this next clip, which will be the following day. All right, guys, I just got everything finished up on here. Check out this hack, this little pencil. I don't know how this worked out, but essentially what we got to do is center this frame around this window. Obviously, we've trimmed this so that we could get the right angle we need. But this is going to go, after everything is cleaned up, all the burrs get off, I'm going to clamp this up tonight with some adhesive and actually glue it to the van. And we got this one, and so that's where that's going to sit. It's going to be beautiful. Looks so good. So now we know where that's going to sit, which is very good. Nova, I'll be with you in 1 second. But check this out. This pencil is the exact width of the clearance of the window. Look at that. I don't know how. It's not on the top, that's okay, but the bottoms and the sides, dude, that's a win. Cool, so we know this is good. She's gotta go out. I'm gonna take you out in a minute. Just take the window out, we'll clean all of this up. We'll get the razor, we'll get all this old adhesive and everything off. We'll clean this off. We'll actually rust prevent all of these places right here after we grind it. And that'll get us prepped for tomorrow, which we'll we'll do some pilot holes and drill and tap. We're using socket head cap screws instead of the provided screws. I'm going to tell you why when I do it. And that's going to be for this. And then, yeah, we'll get the window in, and then once this is on, let me pause. Before the window actually finally goes in, once this goes on, we're gonna remount the upholstered panel bump out, and then we're gonna trace the inside via coming from the outside, this, and then that allow us to take the cutter and cut the square hole out for the panel. We'll put the panel on, we'll take the trim ring, finishing trim ring, bam. It'll look so sweet. So good work today. We'll see you guys in the next clip. right, guys, it's a late night, but we're back. Gonna pull an all-nighter here to get this in. The reason was I put this Flatline Vanco trim ring in, and I was gluing it to the frame, and I noticed that the clamps weren't gonna work because they're not gonna evenly put pressure. Didn't have time to cut, pieces of wood and stuff like that to make a frame so it was nice and even. So I went ahead and drilled and tapped the AW1033 awning window frame. Yes, I did it. I used M4 by 0.70 by 12 millimeter socket head cap screws. That's what we're gonna install right now. We're gonna put Loctite on it, and this will be the window install. So doing it kind of fast here. We're gonna put the GoPro on so you guys can check it out. We're gonna take one last clamp off. We're gonna go grab our window, put it on here. Let's do this pretty quick so it does not, frame does not fall out. Okay, we blew this all blown off with air. This gasket looks really good. I'm actually not putting any sealant on this gasket because according to the manufacturer, that is not necessary. But we will do a water test. And the good news is, with these socket head cap screws, if we really did have to take this window out and replace it, it's possible. The issue with having those screws in there is once you cut the threads with those screws, you may never get that exact screw, that run of that screw that you had again. And that can be an issue. So it means you might be buying another window. Now I will say tapping, doing the taps for this window, that was very interesting because there's not a lot of meat to grab onto, but there is some meat. If you guys don't know anything about what I'm talking about, it has to do with the how much materials in here that we can use to that the screws can grab. Okay. All right, let's go in there before this thing falls off. All right, we're ready to finish up this window install. We're putting on our trim ring to get a nice test fit. Now, this is not the final time that this window will be taken out. We're gonna take it out one more time because we're gonna have to trace out for our interior, upholstered interior panel. So what I'm doing right now is I'm making sure that I can get a good compression on this trim ring, and I'm not gonna have to make any more adjustments to drilling out any of the holes a little bit bigger, that sort of thing. I really wanna make sure I get good clamping force on the four corners. So I'm just testing that out, finding the best spot for this window to be in so that when I take it out, again, I won't have to make any more modifications after I trace out my interior panel. So again, what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking the socket head cap screws and tightening them. Again, these are not the screws that came with the AW1033 window. These are some that I bought at Lowe's. I bought a tap kit. So that kit came with a 3.3 millimeter drill bit that I used to drill through the frame. That's the hole that you prep before you put the tap in. And then the kit comes with a M4 by 0.70 tap. And that's what creates the threads in the aluminum after you drill with a drill bit. And so once you have all that down, you can buy these socket head cap screws, and you can buy some washers and use that as what you use to mount this compression ring to the actual window. So in this next part, I'm actually taking the window out for the last time in preparation to be able to trace out on the inside of the trim ring. So that's the Flatline Vanco trim ring that I glued to the structure of the van. So it's not glued to the window, it's glued to the sheet metal of the van. So I went ahead and put in my panel where its home position would be, so all the L track and everything clamped down. This is for the Adventure Wagon interior conversion kit. So once everything was clamped down, and I know that's where the panel is going to live, I'm then able to go to the other side and begin to trace out the interior of that frame. And that's going to let me know where I can drill my hole and use my jigsaw just like I did to cut out the window, except this time I'm going to cut out the interior panel. So I'll go ahead and score everything with the razor, and then I'm going to go back around. I'm going to take everything else apart. So maybe your conversion might not be as challenging this one. There's just a lot of pieces that I have to put together and then take apart in order for everything to fit perfectly, because you only get one shot to cut these out. So there we go. I drill my pilot hole to put my jigsaw in. I get my jigsaw, and I'm cutting out this square that I traced from the exterior of the van. And you can really use this method for any interior panels. So say you were doing an interior panel that, you know, wasn't from Adventure Wagon, it's one you were designing on your own, or that you got somewhere. You can still use this technique to be able to find out, you know, what profile you need to trace out to go around that trim ring that you've created, whether it's out of wood, aluminum, doesn't matter. And so I made a couple adjustments because there's some adjustment screws. There's 2 on each side, and they were kind of sticking out and not letting this sit down flush. But once I got that right, I was able to go in, and actually what I'm doing right now is I was cutting out some glue because I saw some glue through the window. So I got that out of the way, put my window back in, and now this is my final time I'm putting the window back in. I went ahead and put Loctite on all the screws, tightened them down, and we were all finished with that. We went ahead and grabbed our trim ring from Flatline Vanco kit, and that allowed us to completely finish up this window, and it looked awesome. Cleaned up our tape, went ahead and got some Windex and just wiped everything down, make sure there wasn't any more little bits of metal shavings or anything like that around. And that's it. Our AW1033 awning window is completely installed. If you guys have any questions on installing a window, put those in the comments below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.